It's good to be with you today.
You too. Thanks so much for joining. How'd the conversation go with you and the governor? I mean, generally, probably not all parties, but he's certainly out of step, I think, with looks like the legislature. But you're both Republicans and both conservatives. You differed on this one. How'd the conversation go?
Well, it started off with, happy birthday, Gary. I'm going to veto your bill.
First birthday present ever. I get it.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to be frank, the governor and I had a good conversation. I believe the governor is a good person. Yeah. I believe he has good intentions. However, it's not good intentions to save kids' lives or protect women. It's good policy. In fact, it's terrific policy. It's great policy. And I wish we could have done this together, but if we can't do it together, then we're going to have to do it without him. So it's just the concept of parental rights which is what you brought up to begin with. We all believe in parental rights, or at least we should. But that's a misnomer that he's protecting parental rights. The parents who have had their children so-called affirmed without their consent have asked me, well, what about our rights? Mm-hmm. There are parents, I sat at the coffee table, at the kitchen table, with parents in Cincinnati who had their rights stripped from them. They've been estranged from their children because their children were affirmed in this gender ideology without their consent, without their permission. So vetoing this alienates parents from their children. It does not protect children's rights.
Let's get to that element of that too, Gary Click, is that I believe the parents should have the final say in this between them and their doctors. I get that. But you're telling me that younger people are able in Ohio to go to a physician without the knowledge of their parents in order to get gender-affirming care? Do they have to go out of state for that? And I think the other thing is, how does that work with health care? Because if my kid's on my health care, I'm the one paying for that, and so I have knowledge of he or she and what they're doing.
So the counseling part is the part that's done behind the parents' backs, and it preps the children for the moment that they turn 18 to go do all these things. Okay. But they're groomed, some people would call it, before they're 18. I provided the governor with a couple of hours worth of video from the hospitals where they are actually telling pediatricians, and they say, listen, if the parents, you can get this child gender-affirming care or counseling without the parents' knowledge, as long as you just say it's for anxiety and depression. You can send them to a counselor, and the parents will never know. And so they're preparing this child for all this gender stuff without the parents even knowing about it. And I've literally sat and watched tears of moms and dads whose children were prepped for this without their knowledge, and then the moment they turn 18, they go get the drugs, they go get the surgeries, and all of this without, when the parents can't do anything. But they've been prepped as minors so that they can do that at that exact moment.
Okay, I get that element of it, but how do you combat, like, for example, Mike DeWine said this, parents told me, they looked me in the eye and they said my child would be dead if they had not received this care. How do you dismiss that kind of testimony?
Well, very easily, because that's science fiction. That's not science. They haven't been doing this. They started doing this in 2014 in Ohio. Mm-hmm. Where were all the kids with gender dysphoria who were committing suicide in droves before this? They weren't. This is a crisis of their own creation. And these kids all have comorbidities. They have anxiety. They have depression. They have autism. They have so many other things that are going on that are the causes of these suicidal ideations. The gender dysphoria is an escape hatch, and counseling them for gender dysphoria avoids the hard work of psychotherapy, according to the parents that I've dealt with this. This just becomes an easy out.
Well, I guess, Gary, the easy thing to do would be, again, let parents decide. I mean, certainly it's not a one-size-fits-all proposition. Some parents feel like they've been duped. I get that. And yet others firmly believe that this is the right path for their child. What's wrong with letting the individual parent decide what's best for their kid?
Well, should we let them decide that female genital mutilation is good? We said no to that in the 132nd General Assembly. There were parents who brought that cultural practice with them, and that was part of the culture. We said, no, you can't do that. Gotcha. This is genital mutilation through drugs for not just females, but for males. This deforms. We've had people give testimony of the deformation that comes from these gender drugs, this cocktail that they're giving to these kids. It harms them. It also arrests their brain development. It arrests their bone development and a host of other dangers.
Yeah, I'm not discounting the people. I'm not discounting that there are people that are against this, but there are many, many people for this. Why isn't there room at the table for them to make that decision?
It physically harms the children. It does physical damage to children.
But Gary, we make decisions every day that harm our kids. I mean, that's why society, so effed up. I mean, if we'd outlaw parents, society would be a much better place. I
wouldn't go that far.
No, there's no doubt. Okay, hold on a second. Hold on. You just talked about genital mutilation, okay? And are you going to propose a bill that would ban circumcision in the state of Ohio?
Well, that's not even the same category, Scott.
It's genital mutilation, Gary.
No, it's not.
Absolutely, it is.
No, it's not.
Well, why do parents? Why is the foreskin removed from baby boys?
Does that cause bone thinning? Does that cause?
No, you're talking about pain and damage. No, you're talking about pain and damage, and there could be certainly infections. It's pretty rare, but there are problems developing. There's no reason to take the foreskin off. It's a cosmetic procedure that's large, that's unneeded. There's no reason for it. So, using your logic, you should ban a circumcision
because they've had a circumcision. But I know plenty of people who have been suicidal because of gender information.
Right, but my point is this: some parents choose to circumcise, others don't. It should totally be up to the parents on this one. And let's get all the information out there so that the buyer can beware. And certainly the best disinfectant is the spotlight of truth. Give the information to parents on both sides. Say, okay, you guys decide what's right for your kid. That ultimately seems to be the common sense solution here. I agree that there are people out there that have bad experiences with this, and it's probably pretty hard to put the toothpaste back in the tube after you go through this. And I'm sure there is buyer's remorse, but that's life, isn't it?
No, it's not life, Scott. You're damning your child for life. You're sterilizing them. You're making them infertile. You're making them suicidal. That is a non sequitur. That's not even a close comparison.
Aren't kids suicidal because they are confused from a gender perspective, that they're not happy being who they are? I mean, you can't discount that.
No, so what are you going to do with these kids that have eating disorders, Scott? You're going to affirm them? You're going to affirm these kids who think that they're overweight when they're 60 pounds? Are you going to affirm them because they might be suicidal because they think they're overweight? No, you get to the root cause, which is causing the depression and anxiety.
But I don't think anybody.
You don't lie to them, and you don't tell girls that they're boys and boys that they're girls.
Well, you're 100% convinced that you're right, though, and that's the thing is, Gary, you're not. I'm not right either.
No,
you're not. It's up to the parent to decide what's right for their kid.
Parents do not have the right to harm their children.
Okay, but again, back to the circumcision. I'll give you another example. Here, good. By the way, Gary Click, I appreciate the debate as always. Gary, state rep out of Fremont. He sponsored the House Bill 68, which Governor DeWine vetoed. We'll get to that in just a second. If you go back, so we'll go back to 2021. You introduced legislation that stopped people from having to disclose vaccine status for travel or go to school. I think he indicated support for a companion bill that was introduced by Jenny Gross out of Harrison that called for an end to mask mandates in schools. And all that was designed to give parents a choice whether or not to vax or mask or both or not in order to protect their child. How's this any different?
I don't know how it would be the same.
Well, you're talking about the safety and a decision a parent would make to protect their child from a virus or a surgery. I mean, you're making a choice based on the health of your child, what you think is right for your child at that particular moment or for their future. It's the same thing. It's science and medicine. It is the same thing.
Well, changing your child's sex is not science. That's a whole different thing. There's a debate over the vaccine. That's a different thing.
We're not debating the.
This is not debatable.
We're not debating the science. We're debating what the parent's choice. That's the question. So I choose whether or not to vax or mask my kid. That's up to me. That's a family, and presumably I would sit down with my kid's pediatrician and figure out if that's right for me and my family. I would say the same thing. You're convinced that this is nothing but nonsense and 15, 20, 100 years, whatever, we'll look back at this and go, God, that was crazy. We're doing these things. But you go with the evidence you have now. I mean, it's good enough for me if a parent says, look, my kid's 15 years old. She has always exhibited the traits of being a boy. I think we ought to move forward with
tomboy. It's called a tomboy.
Okay, but that's your opinion. Why do you want to push?
It's a fact. It's a fact. It's science, Scott. And so many of these girls are being told that they're not legitimate if they are a tomboy. Effeminate boys are told that they have to get switched over because their parents are ashamed of them sometimes for being an effeminate boy.
It's America, right? We try to raise our kids in the best way possible. We try to make that. Hold on. We try. You talked a lot. Let me talk a second. We try to raise our kids in the best way possible. The Constitution actually grants that. It's like, hey, listen. Essentially, if you've never read the Constitution before, it basically tells you have freedom to make these kind of decisions. What's right for you? What's right now? Neglect and abuse is a totally different thing. But there are plenty of people who have gone. Hold on. There's plenty of people who have gone through the surgery and the procedures who are perfectly happy in life. I know a few of them, and they seem well-adjusted, normal people with families that just happen to be same-sex or different. I don't understand it. I don't have to understand it because it's not my choice. What's wrong with accepting that?
So first of all, we're only dealing with children. We're not dealing with adults in this legislation. Adults should be free to do what they want to do. But we have seen and we've heard whistleblowers. Jamie Reed, I talked to her. She's the whistleblower in Missouri that she said, she's married to a trans man. She calls herself queer. She's left of Bernie Sanders. Mm-hmm. She said, I thought I was saving trans kids, but now I'm blowing the whistle. Because there's so much manipulation in this industry. It's for profit.
Sure there is.
Profit industry.
Absolutely.
And they are manipulating parents. They're manipulating children. Children cannot sign away their fertility and their sterility and their health. They cannot comprehend what they are giving up as minors. The prefrontal cortex does not develop until you're about 24 years old. And children are not capable of understanding these things.
Which is why parents and the doctor and the kid are all involved in decisions, not just the kid. Do you only talk to the people that agree with you, or do you listen to people who disagree with you?
I look at the science, Scott. Go across the street. Go over to the Netherlands.
We do a lot of things based. I mean, you're a religious, God-fearing guy. I believe you're a pastor, correct?
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with it.
Sure it does. You believe in God, you believe in a spirit, and that's the mystery of God, right? Scientifically, there's no evidence God exists. Now, you may disagree with me, but it's based on a book. I certainly believe in God. Many people believe in God, but you don't have to in America, and that's the point. Religion and science generally don't go hand in hand. You have your core beliefs. I mean, I could give you evidence there's no such thing as God, but you would never listen because you have your core beliefs. You raised your kids based on your core beliefs. It's just that these core beliefs differ vastly from what you believe in. Do you not have any room for them?
I don't have any room for damaging children.
Well,
should a parent be able to deny a life-saving blood transfusion? Answer that for me.
A life-saving blood transfusion? I mean,
You didn't answer my question. Should they be allowed to deny that blood transfusion? Because the law says no. We should allow the parent to allow the child
Absolutely.
to die. I disagree
Absolutely.
with that.
Yeah.
Oh, my
Absolutely.
word. No wonder we don't agree.
Yeah.
We don't agree on the
Absolutely.
fundamentals there.
Yes, you should 100% be allowed to neglect your children to the point where they die. Obviously, I'm messing with you here because, of course, you have to give your kid a life-saving transfusion. There's no question about it. But
I thought there was hope for you.
No. But I'm making my point, right? And the point. Gary Click, by the way, he's a state representative out of Fremont this morning on the Scott Sloan Show. Of course, you absolutely have to save the life of your kid. But that's my point, is these parents whose kids are going through this think at that right moment. That's why they told Mike DeWine that they looked into the eye and said, look, I don't think my child would be alive if they didn't have the surgery. They would have taken their own lives, and there's nothing I could have done to stop that. You know what? I don't think Mike's making that up. I think that actually happened. What's wrong with letting parents have that moment? Let them make that decision.
Well, why didn't he talk to Morgan? Morgan gave testimony.
He said he talked to both sides on this.
Oh, hold on a minute. He didn't talk to Morgan. He talked to. I mean, I
don't know who Morgan is, but you can't. But you can't. I mean, obviously, you can't talk to everybody.
Terrific testimony. She is a person who was scooped into this gender ideology right here in Ohio, and she was told that hey, you make a great boy. You're tall. You got a strong jawline. You got good leg hair, and you're going to be a great boy. No one will ever know you were a girl. And she went through the whole process, almost the whole process, not all the way, but she had the double vasectomy. She had drugs and everything. She went into a deep, deep depression, and she detransitioned. And she she was locked in her room. She wouldn't eat. She wouldn't bathe. She wouldn't do anything. She was very suicidal. She was on suicide watch. she went back and confronted her counselor here in Ohio, and her counselor said, well, I had questions, but I'm told I have to affirm you, and I'm sorry I failed you, but this is just all so new. Don't you think they should be held accountable? Do you think they should be able to do that, even though we got questions?
Here's what I think, because I got to get going here. I'm almost out of time. Here's what I think. You asked me the question, and I think this. Again, it's buyer's remorse. We have that all the time in America. Buyer's remorse. We do something, think, God, seems like a good idea. How many people, when they're older, look at the tattoos they got when they're 18 years old? I regret doing that. I mean, life is full of regrets.
A tattoo is not the same as having your...
But it's the same philosophical thing, though. It's buyer's remorse, and you have to make the best decision based on what you have in front of you at the time. Gary, I gotta go. I appreciate
you. Way off base.
I really appreciate the time, Representative Gary Clark. I hope you'll join the show, even though we disagree. We'll have you back on in the future.
I think it's fun.
It is fun.
It's wild. I'll come back anytime.
All right, buddy.
Hey, you're wrong. Okay, you're wrong.
I think you're wrong too. You guys got enough to worry about with the economy and everything else. What do you focus on that, Gary? I appreciate it, man. Hey, Happy New Year. We'll talk soon.
Hey, God bless you, Scott.
Take care. You too. Thank you so much. There you go. I'll get your calls on this. 513-749-7800, the big one. Also, Talkback iHeartRadio app. We'll do that right after a news update back at 11:35 on 700 WLW.
Kate from Baths R Us here with a frustrating thing about bathroom remodeling that nobody ever tells you. When the contractor pulls the old tub or shower out, there is almost always damage that needs to be repaired. Usually, it's rotten wood or studs, damaged or leaky plumbing, or both. It's frustrating because most contractors will charge you extra after the fact to repair that damage, $200 to $1,000 or more. At Baths R Us, we know there's going to be damage. We expect it, and we have all the materials on hand to deal with it. In a few extreme situations, like termite infestations or completely corroded cast iron pipes, you might have to call somebody in to take care of the problem. But 99% of the time, we can handle the damage, and you pay the original estimate. That's how the Baths R Us family treats your family. Like family. Call now and get $1,500 off, plus low to no monthly payments. Our number is 855-592-BATH or online at bathsrus.com. That's bathsrus.com.
Men, the new year is here, and if you're like many of us, you're going to make a resolution to improve your health. But if you're feeling sluggish and low energy, if your sleep patterns are off, if you've been working out and aren't seeing the gains you used to see, making that resolution may not be so easy. This is Jeff for Tri-State Men's Health, and if you're feeling the way I just described, we can likely help you with that resolution, because those symptoms probably mean you're suffering with low testosterone. And at Tri-State Men's Health, we're experts in treating this condition. With our low T protocols, if you're like most men, the change will astound you. You'll feel more energy and better mental clarity, your sleep will improve, your workouts will be better, and you'll likely find your sex drive goes up as well. So call us today and get treated for your low T. Your initial visit is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. And if you start on testosterone the day of your appointment, your visit is free. Call 800-900-9654 or go to tristatemenshealth.com. We have 4 offices: Cincinnati, Louisville, Dayton, and now Columbus. Tri-State Men's Health, a Promenic restorative health practice.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car can be picked up as soon as the next day. Receive a tax deduction and vacation voucher.
1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members of DIC. Terms and conditions apply. Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's corporate cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/free. Ramp.com/free. ramp.com/free.
Mercedes-Benz of Fort Mitchell.com.
This is Katina Mobley. This is what's trending from iHeart Sports Network.
Presented by DraftKings Fantasy Sports.
Bengals defensive end Trey Hendrickson has his eyes on the NFL sack lead. He's tied with Pittsburgh's T.J. Watt with 17 going into Sunday against Cleveland. College hoops tonight. Xavier visits Villanova looking for 2 straight wins, while Dayton tips off a 10 play at Davidson. And Grambling recorded the largest margin of victory in Division I women's hoops history last night, steamrolling the College of Biblical Studies by 141. I'm Scott Davidson.
Check out what DraftKings has to offer with code SPORTS, because life's more fun when you're in on the action. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Age and eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See DraftKings.com for details.
News, traffic, and weather. News Radio 700 WLW, Cincinnati.
Could we get hit with a big winter storm this weekend? With the 11:30 report, I'm Brian Combs. Breaking now, models had been showing possibility for several inches of snow in the tri-state over the weekend, though it looks like hopes for a winter storm are fading. Forecasters say now those models that they have seen today show more of a rain, snow, slushy mix in our area on Saturday. Probably won't accumulate too much. Still talking about big snow, though, for the East Coast.
It has been nearly 2 years since we have had an inch or more of snow in New York City. Consecutive snow droughts for Philadelphia and Baltimore, also record-breaking. These lengths of times that we've gone without snow could change very quickly by the weekend. It's Saturday night through Sunday when it deteriorates from Philadelphia to New York City. It right now looks like the best chance of heavy snow is Hudson Valley to the north, the mountains of Pennsylvania, certainly Connecticut, up through Massachusetts, the Berkshires, and definitely into New England.
That is meteorologist Ginger Z with ABC. Forecast for the tri-state says the temperature on Saturday should hit a high of 40. Now latest traffic. Weather together.
From the UC Health Traffic Center, UC Health Weight Loss Center offers long-term weight loss solutions that transform lives. To learn more, call 513-939-2263. It's 939-2263. Highway traffic continues to look good. I'm not seeing any major time delays at all. Northbound 75, less than 7 minutes out of Erlanger through downtown. Southbound 75 and southbound 71, both good at the lateral. Chuck Ingram, News Radio 700 WLW.
Now the latest forecast from the Train Heating and Cooling Weather Center on News Radio 700 WLW.
This afternoon in the tri-state is going to be sunny with a high of 43. Clouds tonight down to 28 for the low. Cloudy tomorrow. At least to start the day. Could become sunny in the afternoon, but it'll stay cold. Tomorrow's high 38. Right now, it is 35 degrees at News Radio 700 WLW. Cincinnati Police's homicide unit and the FBI's evidence response team are all combing the woods off Baltimore Avenue in North Fairmount today. They are looking for evidence in connection with the discovery of a dismembered body back in November. The remains of the female victim found off Baltimore have never been identified. Police are out there today hoping that evidence they find will help them with those identification efforts. Search goes on for a red pickup truck stolen in Butler County last night. Carjacking in Ross Township happened at the Marathon gas station at 27 and Route 128. Suspect hit the victim over the head, took off with her red pickup truck. It's a 2003 Chevy Silverado. Has Ohio plates 391ZPY. If you spot the truck, you're asked to call 911. On Wall Street today, stock prices are headed lower. The Dow right now down 240 points. The NASDAQ off 125. Our next update's at noon. I'm Brian Combs, News Radio 700 WLW.
700 WLW Cincinnati. Available everywhere with the iHeartRadio app. Now number 1 for podcasting. 700 WLW, an iHeartRadio station.